We see how many differences are we going to see?
Well,
Yeah. Mindy and I love the original and love Richard Curtis so much. So our intention was really with this show to sort of pay homage as much as we could to not just the original, but all of his canon of movies. So you'll see kind of moments from Love Actually and Notting Hill and Bridget Jones, and sometimes it's just straight up rip-offs, but mostly it's tastefully done homages.
I love that. I was going to ask if there was any other Easter eggs because we did love the Richard Curtis nod. So we're going to see a lot more in the coming episodes.
I think so. None that I can think of, but there's a lot of them.
Great. So London is such an important setting for this series. What was the best part of shooting there, and what was the worst part of shooting there?
It was great for us because
I got to go home every night. I never
Yeah.
get to go home to my own bed when I'm filming, so this was great for me.
I loved it because I got my English accent pretty spot on. I think I'm gonna stop doing like BBC films and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It's a bit mixed, isn't
It's absolutely spot on. Oh, see, the mic
The
agrees.
audio system disagrees. Literally rejected your accent. Sorry. No, it was great.
Were there any downsides to filming in London?
Americans, do you want to chip in?
Honestly, there were no downsides to filming in London. I think that the team, Hulu and MGM, made us feel so comfortable, and the city and the country really, welcomed us so warmly.
It rained and was freezing cold every day.
It was horrible.
You were in your trailer. I was outside in a coat. It was so cold.
They made Tracy sit outside. It was very sad.
No, it was. It was beautiful, and you can't get that kind of production value by shooting in a soundstage in LA.
I even had a Reuben that was fantastic. I mean, there was nothing to miss. It was like everything was amazing, except for today. I did explain that some of the Uber drivers were a little fussy about my dog.
What kind of dog?
Yeah, we're not a very dog-friendly city.
Yeah, no, they were like, "Get out! I'm canceling it." It was. I mean, I actually did smuggle him in a few times. He's not
As you
that
should, because
big.
the dog's adorable.
He's very
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
He's
Super
very cute.
adorable.
He's 18 pounds. He has like big eyebrows and a beard. He looks like Dumbledore.
I sort of feel like we should bring him out after this, but unfortunately.
Actually,
We have another surprise for you.
I'm just kidding. I didn't bring him.
So we're at a giant wedding party tonight, obviously. Have to celebrate the 4 weddings. I'm curious for each of you, what's the craziest wedding story that you have?
I haven't been to that many weddings.
Really?
No.
I mean,
Brandon, I feel like you got one.
I just feel like, Indian weddings are just big. So the craziest, I love talking to my white friends, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we're having a really big wedding. It's like 150 people." And I'm like, "Oh, a hall with a village in it is a big wedding." So I think that's the crazy thing for me, is just the sheer volume of people.
Yeah, I don't have any crazy wedding stories, but I'm sure they're coming.
At my friend's wedding, the whole altar blew down right before the wedding. That was rough. And then it was like a whole bunch of guys trying to stick hydrangeas back into floral foam, and they had no idea what they were doing. It was kind of sad. But that's like, the bride was very chill about it, I have to say.
that's
She
great.
was like, whatever, it was on the beach, so it was a beautiful backdrop anyway. But I mean, it was kind of sad watching these guys try to deal with floral materials.
I mean, I love the dedication, though, really committing to it.
Yeah, no, it was sweet. It was sweet.
So much of the original movie and this series center around timing. Do you think timing really is a factor in our lives? Or do you think when things don't work out, it's because they weren't meant to happen? Getting philosophical on you guys. I'd cover that in
It's
there.
a combination.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit of both.
I have to agree. I think that everything kind of happens for a reason, and sometimes the right person might come along or the right situation might come along, but you're not ready for it. So I think it's the timing of both
Get
things.
deep. I love it.
So,
Yeah.
well, but so that I think that it is a lot about timing, but also about where you are at any given time. So, yeah. Which is also about timing.
All comes back. So one thing I love about the series is the friendships that we see on screen. And for me, I have a group of college friends that are like my heart and soul that I love. And I think it's so cool to see another friend group on screen. It really resonated with me, especially friends that have, from time and space and changes and growing, to see that reflected. I'm curious for you all, how do you build that on-screen dynamic that feels so genuine and so real and so relatable?
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I mean, basically because I didn't quite have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with these guys before we started shooting, and for me, it's just important to go in with an open heart and be like, okay, we're friends, so we're friends.
Yeah, you assume you're friends until something goes wrong, which luckily nothing went wrong.
But we were lucky, I think.
No, yeah, we all, I think, really actually became really close organically. And I mean, Natalie's always given me like life lessons, and Nikesh.
About timing.
No, it was really, she gave me a lot of great advice. And I mean, Rebecca as well. And we would all, share food together, and Nikesh would come and give me advice.
I felt left out.
Share your food. You guys were
Yeah.
eating vegan
out.
food, and I was eating like ribs. So
I mean,
Maybe
I
so
feel like
much
that was your call, but
It was.
yeah, no, because because of the way the show is set up, that these guys are college best friends, and then for reasons that you all now know, Cash doesn't really get to hang out as much with those friends because of bad life choices that he's made. So yeah, I'd try and organise impromptu, like, hey guys, want to hang out? Yeah.
Oh,
We did do a
game night was
night.
so fun.
We did do a game night.
Game
You
night was so.
didn't come.
I was there.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you
I
were.
was there. No, I was there.
He wasn't there.
I was
weren't there.
I have photos.
Yeah.
you don't
I was
have
there.
to blatant lie.
Do you guys play tour guide in London at all? Like, did you guys have like a bucket list of things to do while you guys were shooting?
It was quite fun. I quite like hearing what people think is worth seeing in my city, because you tend to take things for granted, and then
I like house museums.
how nice. Okay, yeah. So just like old houses that you can wander around.
Yeah,
in.
that you can wander. We don't have that stuff here. We don't have houses like that that are.
Because
full
nothing
of-
here is
I mean,
old.
like palace, like stately homes.
Everything's
are
like
like 100 years
Yeah,
old.
you're like, oh, this is ancient. It's like 100 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, glad that's covered. Yeah, we got that down. So like we talked about, this series touches on so many themes, one of the most prominent being friendships. But we also see themes of love and career and family. And so was there a character moment, whether yours or another's, that resonated with you on a deeper level, maybe touching on one of those themes?
For me, yeah, there definitely was. My character. Am I allowed to say it? My character's.
African American.
Yeah. I think just don't give away the weddings and the funeral.
Okay.
But yeah, you can say
Okay,
that.
yeah. Well, so my character has a child, and it was something that really had a profound effect on me.
You're about to tell us something.
I feel like I'm about
Yeah.
to give up something.
Yeah,
yeah. But anyway, it was just, it was one of those experiences where I was truly seeing myself become a young man and take that responsibility. And, the person who plays my daughter in the series, we just,
He's adorable.
she's amazing. She's amazing. And it made me want to have kids until I was on a plane with a baby about 2 weeks ago. And I was like, that baby don't look like me.
There was a sort of a weird parallel with me and Cash in a lot of ways, because at aged 15, when you're suddenly supposed to know what you want to do the rest of your life, I was like, I've decided that I'm going to have a career in investment banking. And then I studied what you need to study for investment banking, and I was like, this is making me miserable. So I sort of had a version of what Cash goes through, but I think, luckily, I was able to not keep it a secret. But it was quite interesting playing that dynamic, and, those close bonds with family and with Dad, with Harish in particular, like, felt very real in terms of that. I think that if you come from that background, there is a conflict between following what you want to do and your sense of duty, and kind of upholding what your family expectations are. Yeah, so that resonated.
And I think I know I turned 30 while we were shooting this, so we shot my 30th birthday party like maybe 2 weeks before I actually turned 30, and I think it's just kind of an interesting time in life in general, because you're leaving your 20s in a time when maybe you're not really thinking so much about how to drive your life forward on the path that is actually meaningful to you, and you don't necessarily think so much about what you actually value as an individual, and you've listened a lot to your parents and other people's input. And so I think it's sort of one of those moments in life where you can come to a crossroads, and I think that all of the characters in this are going through that sort of life transition. So I definitely related to it. I felt like there were a lot of parallels, but I think once again it has to do with timing. Mm-hmm. But it is sort of that age where you're like, wait a minute, who am I? What do I actually care about? How do I want to live my life?
And what you want versus what you think other people expect you
exactly,
to have or
yeah.
want. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think for me and Maya, like the thing that we absolutely share is just being like, being women in very high flying careers, mostly male dominated spaces a lot of the time. Like the people that hire you, the people that fire you, the people or reject you or say no, you can't play that part, whether it's usually coming, other than in this case, it's usually coming from mostly men. So like trying to like have confidence in your abilities and having like trying to put that self-doubt to one side, like that's something that Maya and I fundamentally like I like connected that straight away, because there are times when you're like doubt absolutely everything, and and she in her own kind of messy way kind of finds that drive and that belief in herself, and it took me a really long time to find that too, and sometimes you lose it too. It doesn't always stay, but it's like you start to find your path, and you become much more confident. And I also turned 30 while we were shooting. Oh, really? As well.
Me too.
No, we finished.
It was right after though.
I didn't turn 30 because I'm a little bit older, okay?
No, but it's like for me, it feels like a really significant moment. And I had got to a place where I felt like I'd really earned it. I was like, 20s is like all this heart stuff, and like, I'm like, oh, I've had my heart broken, all this like, rejection and blah blah blah, and then like I got to 30 and I was like, I've been through some shit. Like, yeah.
That will still happen, by the way, in your 30s.
Of course it does, but I'm like, now I feel like a bit more prepared for it, and I know who I am. I know what I will tolerate and what I will not tolerate, and it's much simpler.
And I think the culture shifting too in a way that's allowed this sort of path to do that, just that, like to own that space and to own your confidence. And I even think, even when my roommates, we were going through that too, all in New York, and anytime we feel that way, we just turn on Lizzo. And honestly, we just like, we need like a Lizzo moment of, where you're just like, wait a minute, this is great, I'm great, we're good.
It's so good. Oh, I love her.
Yeah. Tracy, would you say anything for that? Was there a character you related to?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Maya, and you said it so beautifully, Natalie, like, I guess Maya, and, everything you guys were saying is exactly right. Like, when you're 30, it's also the time when you're making these huge life decisions where in your 20s, it's kind of you break up and then you choose the person you're going to be with. When you're 30, that's the person you're going to marry. And so you're making decisions that will affect the rest of your life. So it's such an inherently dramatic time. And exactly what you were saying, Natalie, like Maya is such an interesting character to me because she's trying to find this confidence in herself, not just in her career, but also in her love life. But she keeps making really bad decisions, and that felt very relatable and easy to write for me.
Yeah, totally. So I also want to talk about Mindy Kaling. She's the executive producer on the show. What would you say is the best thing you learned from Mindy, or just your favorite Mindy moment?
I learned how to be stylish from seeing Mindy, even in the cold and rain. This woman just looked, she was just slaying. I was like, okay, I need to work harder at
The most miserable days at Heathrow Airport where we were filming, and she'd just turn up and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I need to up my game. Because
she's just, effortless.
I've worked for Mindy for a long time because I wrote on her show on the Mindy Project for a number of years. Thank you.
And was in it.
And was in it, yes, which you reminded me of today, which I forgot. And then I worked on this with her, and she's a joy to work with because she's a great boss. She's very decisive. She knows exactly what she wants. She has vision in a real way. And it's so exciting to work with someone like that who can come into a writer's room and be like, I know what the scene's gonna be, and she can just paint it for you and, get people on board. And it's really exciting to work with someone like that who isn't, especially a woman, who isn't second guessing their decisions all the time and being like, I think it should be this, but I don't know, what do you guys think? Like she has real vision for the show, and the show, I think, really feels like her brand, and I think that's why people are going to gravitate towards it. Right.
And I really think also, as Natalie was speaking to her style, I mean, her sensibility and her high taste for style, she has an aesthetic that's really, really just breeze through the show through our wonderful costume designer, Salvador Perez. Yeah. Big round of applause. This is a Salvador Perez right here too. I mean, and you can really see that thread throughout this show, and I think style is a big part of this show, and it's in the most vibrant way, and I think in the best way that's ever been done on television.
It's so good you brought that up. Sal did such a beautiful job, and also our set designer who designed all the weddings, Patrick Rolfe, who just was incredible.
Patrick's amazing.
And part of this show, the show only works if it's aspirational and is a world that you're like, oh my God, I want to live in Ainsley's apartment, and I want to go to these weddings and wear that weird little hat Ainsley's wearing or whatever. No, it looked chic and awesome. I love that hat. And Sal just did such a spectacular job making the show really feel like something to aspire to,
I've been
like
wearing this suit since I left London. I'm serious.
Smells good, right? Yeah, I bought a lot of my clothes. And some of the furniture also.
Yeah, me too.
All of the furniture. You bought all the furniture.
I did.
She had 4 U-Haul trucks. I'm just trying to get a little painting. She's like, sorry, Biden. It's over.
I bought like a chest of drawers, a couple of
You
chairs.
were reasonable.
That's true.
I did
This
ship
is
it.
very
I could ship like a whole container back. I'm not gonna lie. I pounced on that. But I want to just go back to Mindy for a second because she wears so many different hats in her profession, and I think she's really thoughtful about how she engages with everybody in each of those different roles. She's obviously an amazing performer, but she's also a writer and she's also a producer, and doing all of those things is really difficult just on their own, but then she does all three. And
is great at all
and
three.
is great at all three. And it's not easy to being a producer is a very different role, but because she is a performer, she knows how to interact with us, and she is decisive, but she's also really collaborative and really respectful of all of the people, all the artists that she works with, and for me, just in terms of seeing somebody how they operate as a leader, I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, she definitely kind of took me under her wing the first sort of block that we were shooting, because I came in kind of last minute, and I definitely looked to her and to these guys, the writers, and to sort of help guide me to begin with. And I was really, really sort of grateful, because she was like, I knew that she was there. And there was literally one moment where she, in the pulpit when I was doing the speech, where Mindy was crouched down in the pulpit feeding me old lines, and she was coming up with them on the spot, and I was like, oh God, I love you, thank you. And it was hilarious. And it's just brilliant. Like, she's so just smart and quick-witted. It's just like her energy energizes you, and I really was so grateful for that those first few weeks on set.
Well, I think we all can speak to that too. I mean, just watching the first episode, you can feel it. It shines through, and it feels funny, and it feels smart, and the characters feel so good. And the style's amazing. I mean, we have the wedding dresses right inside, and they're incredible. I hung out there for a while. Okay, so we only have time for one more question. I'm very sad. But, so final one for each of you. When you think of people at home watching the series, just like all these people here who watched it today, what do you hope is the big takeaway? What do you hope they carry with them?
I hope and there's a lot of shows on TV, on Hulu, The Handmaid's Tale, that will make you feel dark and scared. I hope you feel opposite. I think the show has a real feeling to it that's romantic and also kind of happy and hopeful, and it's something that I think is people have sort of an appetite for right now, that people are looking for a show that makes them feel good and sort of positive about, okay, maybe love will win the day, and I hope that's the feeling they get when they watch it.
And also that rom-coms are back, and let's bring them back.
They're back, baby! Rom-com!
Right?
I love
Who
that.
doesn't love a good rom-com? I
I
want
love 'em.
more.
I love 'em.
I feel like we stopped making them for a while, and I'm done with that.
We're done with that.
Yeah, bring back the rom-com.
Yeah,
This is what we're doing.
and also just speaking to something about how inclusive I think this show is, and that's one of the, and I think at a time where people are talking in ways that are the opposite of that, and encouraging us to hone in on why we're different and why people don't belong and why people should go wherever. This show is just saying, like, hey, look, when it comes to love, it turns anyone into an idiot, which I think is very relatable, and it's also that thing that I think I'm excited for this show because I think a lot of people, I hope, will watch it and go like, oh, that's me on there,
Absolutely, yeah.
whoever they are, and see themselves and kind of have the same aspirations and kind of want to go out and fall in love. I mean, that's sort of the most important thing, right? That's what makes us tick. So.
Yeah.
I think, just to add onto that, I just think as well, like, all of these characters are all going through very different journeys, and they all make their mistakes, they all trip up, and I think in the end they kind of figure it out, and we're all just figuring it out, and everybody's going through something, and that's okay. So,
I love that. Great. Well, guys, thank you so
Thank you.
much for being here today. This was so fun. Thank you all for watching and enjoying this with us. Now, like we mentioned, we're celebrating 4 weddings tonight, and obviously at a wedding, there's something you always have to do, and that is cut the cake. So boys, bring it out! Will you guys do the honor of cutting the cake with me?